I always thought the Atari Lynx was a real head turner. It was sort of like Atari were looking at the handheld market, and at a time that they were struggling the worst, they were saying, we're going to make the premium handheld system. So the battle has been fought. The Lynx obviously lost, but we were still left with a library of really unique games that are still worth checking out today. I'm going to kick off with one of my personal favourites for the system. Ninja Gaiden. So the arcade version of Ninja Gaiden is a lot easier to get your hands on now, especially with things like the virtual network. But while the NES version was tearing it up on home consoles at the time, the arcade version got a few different ports, mostly to different PCs, but strangely enough, to the Lynx as well. I've always been pretty impressed with how big this game is. Multiple enemies, weapons, locations, moves, and bosses. The action chugs along at a really awesome pace, considering this is a scaled down version of an arcade game, living on a handheld. As far as ninja games go, there is no stealth. It's solid beat 'em up gameplay. It's near impossible, but in so many ways it shows off what the Atari Lynx hardware is capable of achieving. Even though there's not too much story in the game, I thought it was worth picking up the boxed version just for the manual. You can read all about the story in like a cartoon panel. Flip it over and this manual actually becomes a poster. So following that arcade theme, the next game off the ranks, Robotron 2084. It's a much more simple concept than Ninja Gaiden, but with so many moving pieces on screen at once, enemies, bullets, people to save, it's a really hectic game that plays really smoothly. It also fills a really big gap in my Lynx library. Games that are addictive, require lots of skills to master, but at the same time anyone can pick up and play it. The goal really is just get the highest score, and it doesn't matter how good you are at this game, you are going to die. It's just a matter of when. So considering arcade games like this aren't really that hard to come by, why would you pick up Robotron on the Atari Lynx? This is a Robotron 2084 handheld port, made for the small screen. It's not a one-to-one arcade port, and in terms of having control over your game, the Lynx is big and bulky, but fantastic for taking command of Robotron. And with the ability to toggle auto-fire, the biggest challenge is, as it should be, the game itself, not what device you choose to play it on. So I'm going to round out my personal list with Battle Wheels, post-apocalyptic, vehicular combat. I guess petrol isn't all that rare, as you tear around different arenas in your dad's midlife crisis mobile, mowing down competitors, whether or not they've actually got a car. For a handheld game on a system from the late 80s, it looks stellar. I honestly didn't believe the images from the back of the box, and I just assumed this game would be choppy and next to unplayable, even though the sprite scaling is a little bit out of vogue. It's proof that it can be done well to create a real sense of perspective, and having obstacles like trees and buildings really adds to the overall atmosphere. Where this game really starts to open up the options is tournament mode, where you get to pick from a range of different car templates, and then start honing your very own, finely tuned death machine. It takes that simple arcade gameplay we've seen since games like Battlezone, and starts to add some depth to it. Whether you're after a game to pick up and play, or if you're in for the long haul, I can totally recommend Battle Wheels. And if you're just after a real challenge, see how well you do without using a car. You'll be stuck firing your machine gun, hiding around scenery, and trying to jack a competitor's ride. It's also unlikely that I'll ever get the chance to experience it for myself, but this game actually comes equipped with a multiplayer mode. It seems like multiplayer mode should be essential, but we're still talking about an underdog handheld system from the 80s. If you really want to see what's on offer with the Atari Lynx, these are the 3 games I'd recommend picking up. Each one is unique to the system, or at least their ports are. They show off some of the great capabilities of the Lynx, and they're still fun to play today. But please dudes, hit me up with any suggestions on games you think I should check out for this system. Are there any other hidden gems? I'd love my comment section to be full of awesome suggestions. So one Lynx game that I am a really big fan of but just didn't make the list is Batman Returns. A great looking, hard as nails game that lets you throw acid at penguins, jump across rooftops, and square up with the penguin himself, even though I have no idea why he'd be difficult for Batman to just beat up, especially if he's carrying around all that acid. All round, it's a good Batman game. But is it the Batman game I need, or the one I deserve? Oh god, that's lame. If you're not above cheating, Atari Lynx Batman Returns is a great, moody Batman title based off the film.
Culture.